Hello everyone, welcome back. We are continuing with our Hawks MC series. We are moving on to the Carolina Springs Charter series. The Carolina Springs Charter is another charter of the Hawks MC. They have their own president who runs their club. However, their club and their president still have to answer to Mother Charter, which is Talon and his guys, which we've met in the previous 4 books. This all takes place in Carolina Springs, and this is Secrets Out. And again, I'm going to try and make sure I get a good photo of the cover art onto the thumbnail, as per usual. That way you can see it a little bit better, because the ring light kind of shines off of my Kindle in a bad way. So, trigger warnings for this story. I mean, as with most contemporary romances, we have some strong language, we have some explicitly sexual scenes, but above and beyond from that, we have violence, we have references to human trafficking, we have references to sexual assault, we have flashback scenes, PTSD, and attempted kidnapping. So that being said, let's move on with the review. In order to do this, I have to give you a little backstory on some of the characters, because some of this has developed from previous books, starting from Holding Out. So our main character is Josie, who we met in the Holding Out book. Towards the end, after Zara had been abducted by her abusive husband, Josie had been held at this place wherever it was that David, Zara's abusive husband, had brought her to, and she was there for adult reasons for David. Even though she was not an adult, she was only 16 years old. She never really had any kindness in her life until she met Zara and her family and the guys from the Hawks MC. The other 2 characters, because it's a menage romance, are Caden Adams, also known as Pick. Pick is the one who, from the very first book, Holding Out, he had betrayed Zara to her husband, but he redeemed himself when he saved Zara's brother Maddie and his partner Julian from being killed. And we found out the reason why he'd been willing to betray Zara wasn't because he didn't like her, it was because he was trying to protect his mother. And we found out a little bit in that story, and a little bit more in depth, considerably more in depth in this story, that she really didn't deserve to have a son like Pick who was willing to put his life in danger to protect her. And then the third party of this romance is Eli Walker, also known as Billy the Kid. Eli was the one who found Josie when Hawks came to get Zara and the kids, and I believe he took her directly to the hospital. Sorry, I've been rereading so many books for a review, it's kind of hard for me to keep straight on all this stuff. But I believe he took her directly to the hospital, so she developed a little bit of a crush on him. And then in later books, when it became clear that nothing was going to develop between the 2 of them, she developed a little bit of a crush on Pick. And then again, you know, these guys are a bit older than she is. She obviously had been traumatized by what happened, so no, you know, nothing was going to happen, at least not at this time. So Josie was basically adopted by Zara's parents, and they have raised her for the last few years of her adolescence. And we start off in Melbourne, basically. Josie has left Ballarat to go to Melbourne for college. I think she wanted to do this to prove that she could function as any other adult could, that she wasn't so damaged from what happened that she couldn't move forward in life. And it's really an admirable thing. It's something that is very difficult for someone who's gone through massive trauma, who's gone through massive abuse, for her to even try to do that. And she also wanted to get away from Pick and Billy because she'd had feelings for them and didn't think that they felt anything for her. So while she's at college, she does go out on a date with a young man. And she kind of had a little bit of a weird vibe from him, but she just assumed it was because she wasn't ready to date yet, which is totally understandable. And so she basically tries to explain to him, you know, I don't really feel ready to date right now. And he and his friends basically start tormenting her. It's very clear she's been through some type of trauma, that she has some sort of issue from it. And when he and his friends have figured this out, they use that to their advantage and really just take great, rather than being a rational understanding human being and going, oh my gosh, this girl obviously has some issues, I should just back off and let her work through them. No, he and his friends decide they're going to sneak up on her, they're going to jump out at her, they're going to physically and emotionally intimidate her, because she didn't want to date him, essentially. If that's your reaction, then chances are there's a reason people don't want to date you. That's all I'm going to say about that asshole. So, understandably, Josie's adoptive mother, Nancy, knows something's wrong and basically tells Talon, you need to send somebody up to find out what's going on and correct it, because Josie's been through enough. She doesn't need to go through anymore. You need to make it stop. So Talon sends Billy and Pick up to find out what's going on with Josie and to correct the situation. Because even though Josie thought that neither of these guys had feelings for her, they both did. The thing is, they both understood that she'd been through a huge trauma, that she had been sexually exploited by an adult man who is far older than her, and that she'd been physically abused in so many ways, and that she needed to work through it. And then there's also the fact that she was just too young at the time. She was only 16 years old, and they were both fully grown adult men. So they, of course, jump at the opportunity to go up and help this young woman that they both have feelings for. Throughout the course of the story, we find out that Pick and Billy had feelings for each other as well. And that they were having a difficult time. One was having a hard time accepting it. And the other one was like, you know what, I'm not going to be this person that you come to out of emotional distress over Josie leaving and then have you freak out about it. So we're not doing this. So Josie is kind of the linchpin for their relationship for the three of them. But the feelings are there between everybody. She has feelings for Pick, she has feelings for Billy. Billy has feelings for her and for Pick. Pick has feelings for Billy and for Josie. So it's not an unbalanced relationship, so to speak. It is pretty balanced. But she is something of a linchpin because she has that caring nature about her that draws them to her. They both have pretty sad backstories. They both don't really understand, or didn't really understand, family and love and all that stuff until they came into the NC, and they didn't understand it with a woman or any sort of romantic relationship until the three of them basically got together. You do have like typical miscommunications with couples where one says something and the other totally misunderstands what they meant by it and just kind of detach. But because there's the three of them together, the third party can see the interaction between them and kind of step in and kind of correct the situation, so to speak. So it's kind of interesting. You have three people who are very damaged. Two of them who have had sexual exploitations as children. I'm not going to say who the other one is. Again, I'm trying not to give away too much. So that one is able to understand what Josie is going through. And so when another party becomes agitated with a natural withdrawal on Josie's part from time to time, the one who had been through the same type of trauma is able to step forward and be like, what was it that set you off? What word, what action was it? And then that brings the third party to realize, oh, she's not rejecting us. She's just scared. So having the third party in the relationship is kind of interesting. You would think it would throw it off, but it doesn't. It actually helps to keep the balance, which is really an interesting concept. And the way it is handled is very well done, I think. Both of the guys are extremely patient with her. And she's actually respectful and supportive of the fact that there's a relationship between Billy and Pick as well. So it's just overall a very supportive relationship between the three people. Josie does come into her own a little bit. It's very clear that even by the end of the story, that is something that's going to have to continue to be built on. And you do see continue to be built on in other stories moving forward. Billy has at one point, Pick comes to talk to him about something, and he thinks he's going to be given the shaft. And he's like, okay, well, when do I have to leave? And they're like, you don't have to leave. We just want to talk to you about this thing. It's not even an issue. So he apparently has a fear of being abandoned, and he moves through that. Pick has issues pertaining to his mother and what she put him through as a child, and he moves through that. And the three of them help support each other and care about each other and move forward as individuals, but also in a relationship together. It's really, again, it's really well done. I think it's very balanced. There's a lot of some of the things that you come to expect with the Hawks MC at this point. If there's a guy who's even just talking to Josie, they kind of get a little possessive. She gets possessive over them while they're out one night. Her friend Simone is very supportive of the situation. It's a very well done story. And it even does get a little bit into political corruption, so to speak. Which is kind of threw me for a loop. I wasn't expecting that part. So overall, there's a lot of really good character development. As I've said in some other reviews, the way the character development occurs, I can't give too much of it away because of the fact that it would give too much of the story away, which I've already had to give some spoilers for previous books, hoping that you've already read them. That being said, I think it's a really good story. I think it's one of the better done menage romances I've ever come across. All of the characters are fleshed out. They all have progression. They all have mutual respect for each other's relationship with the other party. It's just very good. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's one of the first menage romances I've ever come across, and it kind of became what I compare a lot of them to now. I feel like as an introduction to a menage romance, it's a very good one. I hope this review was helpful for you. I know I rambled a little bit. It was a lot to try and keep in my head between the three parties, but I hope I did a halfway decent job. Overall, I'm going to give this one a 4.8 out of 5 stars. I look forward to seeing you on the next review. You have a great day. Take care. I love you all. Bye-bye.